Another Monday, another video, and I am really excited to be talking you guys through the sketchbook spread. I had so much fun making this piece, or I guess it's not necessarily a piece. Either way, I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this spread. It's clearly, as you can see, about some deer, some goofy little deer, and I wanted to also talk to you guys about finding inspiration in past art that you've created, because that's how this entire spread came to be. So, if that sounds like something you would enjoy, I'm Rory Fluent. Feel free to call me Rory. If you're new around here, hi, hello, how are you? Let me know in the comments down below. I like to create dope art content and hopefully curate a chill atmosphere. And if you're not new around here, what is up, my dudes? Let's get into this video. As you guys can already see, I am doodling up some deer. I was looking through some past sketchbooks that I have. Oh yeah, you can see it right here actually just for a second. I opened up the sketchbook and I don't know, I really wanted to draw some old fun, like, things, I guess, that I used to take a lot of inspiration in. So I started with deer because I remembered this old spread I did of these deer that I just ended up being really stoked about and really enjoyed the entire process of, like, doodling them up and everything. And so I was like, you know what, I think it would be really cool to take that sketchbook spread, that old sketchbook spread, and use it as inspiration for this one. And that is what I went ahead and did. So I just kind of opened it up, I put it sort of like on and next to my gouache palette and just kept it open the entire time I was painting, and just tried to kind of keep in mind what I liked so much about it, you know, and like, I don't know, I tried to like dissect it and make a point of, I guess just paying attention to what I liked about my art. And it was kind of fun and self-reflective, and I really enjoyed it. It was really cool to kind of take a second and be almost introspective with what I was deciding to paint and how I was deciding to do it. I felt like I was being a lot more intentional than normal, though I do, because I've been trying for a while now to be more intentional. I am more intentional with my art in general, but besides that, or outside of that, I should say, yeah, I feel like I was being really thoughtful and mindful of the different choices that I was making, because I was sort of comparing what I was doing now and currently to what I was creating or had created years ago at this point, honestly. I think the sketchbook that I am using as inspiration, let's see, I finished it, I think, right before I started my YouTube channel, so it's over a year old now. This particular sketchbook that I've been working on has been taking me so goddamn long, and it's a huge ass sketchbook. It's Be Creative paper. I literally adore this paper. I would recommend it to anybody, whether you're a watercolor veteran or just getting started. It's wonderful watercolor paper. Obviously, it holds gouache like a champ. I really like it for gouache and marker. It's a fantastic mixed media sketchbook in my opinion. Now, as a side note, if you're ever using marker, you want to be mindful of using it as your sole medium on like watercolor paper or something that's not like a thicker cardstock or Bristol board, because the watercolor paper is literally made to soak up the paint. So when you're putting your marker down on the page, it's literally soaking up that alcohol and that pigment and using a lot more of the markers, I don't know what to call it, like ink? Yeah, the marker's ink. It's using so much more of that than it would if you were using something like a Bristol board or marker paper especially. I digress though, and getting back to what I was originally talking about, I was just trying to be really conscientious of looking at my old sketchbook spread and going, what did I like about this? There were things that I didn't like, you know, that was way before I started cluttering my pages, so there's all of like 3 sketches on the page, there's very little going on, and on like the sketchbook spread compositionally, they're just, I guess it was just kind of boring, you know, there wasn't a lot to look at, but I did like the content of the spread. I clearly still kept sort of like a theme. It was all kind of deer themed, the few sketches that were on the spread, and I really liked the colors. I don't know, I went a little off on the colors with this spread. The original colors are just like a sepia, like a really nice cool toned brown, and then I believe it was it was probably Schminka's like olive green. And I think those were like the only 2 colors that I used. I take that back. And Daniel Smith's Lunar Violet, which is a cool toned purple. So I tried to kind of take that color palette and expand on it. I was using a variety of browns, having a lot of fun mixing my own browns, actually. I was using my gouache palette. So this piece is created entirely out of gouache, no watercolor. And then obviously there's Copic marker, because I always use that to add detail. But on top of that, I only used gouache for this piece, so I was having a lot of fun mixing the colors, because if you've watched me before, you know that gouache is kind of annoying for me, because I basically, like, I don't like that there's not a lot of color variety in the actual paints. Like, the medium itself just has like trash color variety compared to watercolor. Like, when you go to even a single brand like Daniel Smith and look at their watercolors, holy shit, they have so fucking many. But then you like go to gouache, which already has a limited amount of brands that actually create it, and then of those limited brands, there's very, very limited color variety. Like, there's not a lot going on. So it kind of pushes me to have to, oh my god, what am I trying to say? It pushes me to have to, so as a side note, that right there is what I would call focusing a little bit too much on the fact that I am just sitting here talking to absolutely nobody and tripping over my words. But what I'm trying to say is that it forces me to color mix. And that's always pretty helpful and pretty nice, because I don't want to get out of practice with my color theory and my paint mixing. So it's good every once in a while to push myself to solely rely on my gouache, because I always have to color mix when I'm using it. My old sketchbook, however, was solely watercolor. I don't even know if I had gouache or if I did. I kind of decided that I hated it, so it is completely made of, or I guess I created the art in it out of watercolor. And the actual sketchbook itself, I don't remember the brand, honestly. And I know for my future sketchbook, I'm planning on downsizing a little bit, whether it's sticking with the B paper and like, again, having a much smaller sketchbook. But the thing with the B paper is that you can't find it in non-spiral bound form, which means there's always going to be that giant divide in the middle. And I feel like I'm kind of going back to wanting to be able to create like a perfect flow on my spread. So I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to end up with next. But anyways, back when I was doodling in the old sketchbook, which was over a year ago, I was only really using watercolor because gouache kind of frustrated me. I feel like every time I opened up my gouache palette, I was always unenthusiastic about the color choices I had, and that always made me kind of feel a little bit less excited to go about painting something with gouache, and it made it a little more, oh my god, it made it a little bit more difficult for me to want to create full pieces out of gouache. Obviously, that is not the case nowadays, and this entire spread is gouache and Copic marker, so I hope that you guys think it's kind of fun and interesting, because I certainly had a really good time creating it. Like I previously mentioned, though, my old sketchbooks, really none of them had this crowded feel. It was something that I went into this sketchbook with like that goal in mind. If there was one specific goal that I just never let go of and was really hell-bent on, I guess, like completing and just actually like having be a part of this sketchbook, it was creating interesting compositions out of my sketchbook spreads. And I feel like I've really developed in that area and just like grown a lot in how I go about my spreads. I feel like they're fun to look at, they have engaging content, they're always a little bit cluttered, there's a lot going on. I really enjoy my sketchbook spreads, and I'm kind of excited to be able to go through with you guys and have like a sketchbook tour. I think I have six more spreads, I think is what I counted. So that's like 6 more videos before, 6 more sketchbook videos. Obviously, I want to create some Procreate paintings in there. So I'm super excited. I'm almost done with this fucking sketchbook, this monstrosity of a sketchbook. There's been a lot of growth and development, so keep an eye out for that video because it will be coming, I guess not soon, but in the next maybe 2 or 3 months, which is kind of soon anyways. To talk for a second about what's currently going on in the video, I feel like this particular deer guy is the most accurate to the color scheme that was originally in the old sketchbook spread that I'm taking inspiration from, which is kind of funny because he's by no means anything like the deer that I drew in that spread. He's a lot goofier, a lot more expressive. He's probably one of my favorite on the spread, the one that's kind of cut in half by the spiral bound, the spirals of the spiral bound notebook. But yeah, I feel like he's properly goofy. He makes me laugh. If you haven't caught on already, this is kind of like a redemption spread for the muntjac deer. I feel like that spread, oh my god, don't go watch that video if you haven't, because quite frankly, it's a little scary how different the deer look, even just a couple months or another go at drawing something can really change the way as an artist you go about depicting it, I guess. And that was like my first try at the muntjac deer, and this is my second more apt, I would say, and more accurate depiction of how I would draw these deer and how I would want to. I really like with this deer that I'm working on currently how the little nose holes, which are representative of their weird glands, because that's the thing about muntjac deers. Obviously, if you haven't watched my other video, I talk a lot about this, but basically they have these weird ass glands on their face, and they have like 2 sets of them, one like by their nose and then the other one's closer to their eyes, and they just like open up and like send out pheromones and like scents and stuff. I don't know, kind of weird. They like rub their faces all over shit to like make sure that their scent gets all over it. It's kind of interesting. And I wanted to take that and draw cool shit based off of it because, I don't know, that's just like right up my alley, you know? And I feel like this spread compared to my other one did a lot better job at being accurate to how I would want to draw these guys and how I would want to depict them. Basically, all I'm trying to say is when you say muntjac deer, this is a lot closer to what I envision than what I have on the last spread that I drew them on. I would say specifically that the deer that I'm currently adding a bunch of little fur textures to in the bottom right corner of the right page, I would say that guy, and then on the same page, the deer that's directly above that middle deer that I've completed, those two are the most similar to how I used to draw deer, like especially with the, oh god, there's like too many deer on the page, the one that's on the top right of the right page, specifically that deer, which I haven't started painting yet, the like sort of squareness of the face and even just kind of like the simplicity in the body, that's very similar to how I used to draw the deer, or at least how the deer look that on the like sketchbook page that I am drawing inspiration from. And then the guy in the bottom right corner, I just feel like, again, like his kind of simplicity also is reminiscent of how I would draw them, just kind of like in how stagnant the pose is specifically. Like I know it's just like the deer head or whatever, but I used to do that a lot more because I wasn't confident in my animal anatomy and in my ability to draw something in its entirety that would look, I don't know, like accurate and not insane, I guess, and not just horrible. So obviously I do not feel that way anymore because this sketchbook page is full of a bunch of deer doing weird shit. And yes, I recognize that some of it is not anatomically necessarily possible, but it looks goofy and fun, and I kind of like pushing those boundaries, I've noticed. I really enjoy just kind of drawing these creatures doing weird shit that doesn't really make a lot of sense, and it's almost like contorting their bodies in a way. As a little bit of a side note, if you guys hear any huffing in the background, it's my dog / my parents' dog, Mac and Cheese. He is currently sitting with me while I voice over this video. He's curled up into a little ball, and his breathing is really heavy, so it wouldn't shock me if the tablet picks up his, I guess, his breaths. So, and yes, this is the same dog that I obviously made my last video on, so if you haven't checked that out, that video I do highly recommend. I touch on just like, I guess, a lot in that video, similar to the video previous to that one, where I just kind of talk a little bit about my struggles on YouTube at the moment, and my very silly, very lovable dog, Mac. It's really amusing to me to watch this spread come together because obviously I didn't miss footage, so I must have just, like, I don't know if my iPhone storage got full or what happened, but there's a bit of a jump, a bit of a gap in what you guys last saw versus what you're seeing now, and that's just me sort of like figuring out how exactly I wanted to complete this spread and sort of add those final details. I was struggling a little bit. It was being a little difficult with me, and in the end, I definitely feel like this entire sketchbook spread has been a huge success. I really enjoyed kind of just going back to almost like my roots and taking a deeper look at the art that I used to make, and like, I don't know, taking a second and observing what it was about that art that I still love and I still really appreciate. And I had a lot of fun, and I wouldn't say that I necessarily like learned anything, but I, as I previously mentioned, was just being really conscientious of what I was doing and how I was going about creating this spread, because I really wanted to do these guys justice, not only as the second time that I'm drawing the muntjac deer, but also as like an homage to my old art and the sketchbook spread that I was taking inspiration from, because it's really cool to be able to sit here and go, I am taking inspiration from my old work. I think that's wild, and I think that it's really cool because while I do remember liking this sketchbook spread, I do remember feeling like at the moment when I was creating the old spread that I'm taking inspiration from, when I was creating that, I didn't feel quite as confident in my art as I do now. But it's amusing to me because currently I have been in a little bit of an art rut, a little bit of a YouTube rut. You know this if you've watched my previous videos. So it's really funny kind of to sit here and be like, yeah, I took a second, I looked at my old work, and you know what? I found inspiration in my old pieces, and I found a lot of joy in taking a moment and admiring my old work and applying it to my new work and taking a stab at some subjects that I used to draw all the fucking time and that I don't want to neglect or forget about, because I love drawing deer and hopefully I will continue to draw them for a very long time. With this final look at my spread, that is going to be the end of this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this one. I feel like it was nice to kind of have a theme to talk about. I know I always bring that up, but it's the truth. And so I just, I really had a blast with this entire process. And from start to finish, I feel like I don't know, I've gotten a lot quicker at editing my videos. I mentioned in previous videos, you guys might not see a bunch of like layering when it comes to like footage or like pop-ups, because I'm currently editing on my tablet because my computer kicked the bucket, and I don't know how long I'll be editing on my tablet, but there's really in CapCut only one, at least from what I can tell, I don't know, I need to do some Googling. There's only one like footage layer, so I can't add video footage like that overlays on top of itself or even like an image, which kind of is annoying. Like in my Mac video, I wanted to show a photo of him, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. So, with all of that being said, feel free to do the YouTubey things like comment and subscribe. If you don't know what to comment algorithm. Thank you so much for staying to the end of this video, and hopefully I will get to talk to you in the next one. Bye!